create a variable in Swift, we use the var keyword. Then we give it a name for our variable, and we can either choose to supply it with a type or we can choose to leave it blank. Since Swift is a statically typed language, every type in a constant and variable that we declare needs to be specific at compile time. So through type inference, we're able to get over this and have the compiler just infer what type this variable is. In this case, it'll be an integer. So here we'll create another variable, num2, and then we'll set it specifically as an integer, and then we can set it as 1, 2, 3. Now I'm going to print num, and this should return us 1. Yep, we get 1. Now I'm going to set num as 2, and then we're going to print num again, and this should return 2. Let's see. Yep, we get 1 and 2. Now if I want to change num to a string hello world, this will give us an error since we set our type inference compiler knows that num is an integer and not a string. Constant in Swift, we'll use the let keyword. Then we'll give it a name, and here we can either have a type or not. So first, I'm going to set it as empty, and we're going to call it I am a string. Now I want to print this constant, and we get I am a string printed. Now here we can specify that this is a string, or I'm going to change it to an integer. And now it'll throw an error to make sure, since we are providing it a value of string and not integer. So we'll set it as 1, 2, 3, run it again. There we go. Now when we change constants to 23, this will also give us another error since constants are not able to be changed. Now let's go over conditionals in Swift. Let's first create a variable a, which is equal to 3. And here we're going to use the if statement to check if a is greater than 3. If it's greater than 3, we'll print greater than 3. Now we'll use else if to check for another conditional. A is less than 2. Here we'll print less than 2. And finally, we have an else, which we'll use print equal to 3. So just some additional, we're going to run this, and then it's going to return us equal to 3. It's just some additional conditionals. We can use and like this, or is this, equal to, greater than or equal to, less than or equal to, and not equal to. Other than these two that we've used above, greater than and less than. So if we change a to be 1, it'll print less than 2. If we print 4, it will give us greater than 3. Create an array in Swift by setting a variable and enclosing data with brackets. So arrays in Swift have some basic functionality that you see in other languages like Java or C++, where we can use the brackets to see which element, we can pick the element in the array. So 0 is 1, 1 is 2, and 2 is 3. So if we run this, this should result in 1. If we try 2, this will give us 3. This will give us 1. Now if I want to print specifically just the last one, we can use array.last, and then it will print us the last element. We can append to our array using the append method. We'll add 4 at the end. And we will need to print the array to C. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now if we want to pop the last, we'll print array again. And now we've lost the last element. If you coded in languages such as C++ or Java before, math operations in Swift will be really easy. So first off, let's go over something really simple. 1 plus 1. Swift is pretty standard. It'll return you 1. Next, if it's subtraction, same thing, pretty simple. Now for division, this is a little bit different. So when we're doing maths, normally we'd assume that this would be equal to 3.5. But Swift only returns the quotient number. So then this will return us 3 in this case. So if we want to get the decimal, then we'd have to print it as a float here. If we divide by a float, then it will give us the right answer that we want. Next, we have mod. This gives us the remainder after we divide. And here I want to go over the plus equal operator. So if we set the variable n is equal to 3, and we say n is equal to n plus 3, this will give us 6. Let me comment this out. This will be the same thing if we do plus equals and then 3, like that. This will also give us 6. And now finally, for the ternary operator, print n is equal to 6. So if this is true, we use a question mark. We return, this is the true statement that is returned. We say n is 6. Then we use a colon. This is what happens if n is not equal to 6. And then we'll just type n is not 6. Oops. So in this case, n is 6. If we change, let's just set n is equal to 7. N is not 6. I'll be going over while loops and for loops in Swift. Let's start with the for loops. First, create a constant nums, which is 1, 2, 3. And we can use for num in nums, and then print num. This will allow us to iterate through every single element in this array, and we will print it out. Next, create another constant. This time we'll call it languages. It'll be Swift, TypeScript, C++, and Go. Here we'll do the same thing for language in languages. And now we're going to use the where operator, where language, this variable we created right here, is not equal to C++. So we can see here that we can use these conditionals to chain on our for loop and impact what this variable will be. Let's just print out language. If we print that out, we'll see we printed everything except for C++. Next, we'll use the for I in 1 ... 3. So this will print everything from 1 to 3, like that. Let's change it to 5, and we see it goes all the way to 5, 1 to 5. Next, I want you to create 2 variables. We can also create variables like this in one line. So x and n. We're going to use while loops now. So while x is less than or equal to n, we'll print x. And then we must change the x variable down here. So we're going to do x is plus equal to 1. When we run that, let me just comment this out for now. Okay, it'll give us the same thing, just what we created right before. All right, so now I want to go back to the for loops because we have one last way to do things. So it's going to be for I in stride. We give it a from 1, a 2 to 10, and then by 2. So this will make us jump from in multiples. So instead of iterating by 1, I'm going to comment out these 2 again, just so we can see in the console. So just instead of going up by 1, we're going up by 2 now. So 1 plus 2 is 3, plus 2 is 5, plus 2 is 7, and plus 2 is 9. Moving on to strings in Swift. So first, let's create a string. hello, I'm a string. This is a normal way to create a string. If you want a multi-line string, we use 3 quotation marks, and then now we can write inside, I'm a multi-line string. Now if we print this, we get it in 3 lines, just like how we formatted it. So now I'm going to show how to do string interpolation. Let's create a constant num, and we'll print with a string. We're going to use this key, backslash, and we're going to do parentheses. Inside here, we're going to put num, and now we're going to go to the front of the string, and we can manipulate it as a normal string. So we can say maybe final score, like that. And it'll print the string just like this. Now if we change num to be, say, 75 and run it again, we now have it reflected in our string. Next, let's change the string to be an empty string, and we can check if the string is empty. This string is the one we created at the top over here. We can use conditionals to print out string is empty. Else, print string is not empty. And now string is empty, so it's printing that. Let's just check. We're gonna comment this out, run it again. String is not empty. Okay, great, so it's working. So when I commented this out, string will not be empty since it's pulling it from up here, and this string has a value of hello, I'm a string, so it's not empty. Alright, so next we're going to print the string count. I'm going to comment this out for now. And then when we print it, we get 18. So this is the length of the string. Over here, we're going to talk about some concatenation of strings. So we're going to say var first string is equal to hello. And I'm going to print the first string. This should return to us, whoops, hello. And now we're going to concatenate plus equal. This is the extension. We're going to print first string again. And this time it should be hello. This is the extension. Let's run it. Yep, we get hello as our first string. Then after we concatenate, we get hello. This is the extension. So you can use operations like this. All right, so now we're gonna look into prefix and suffix of strings. So let greeting, I'm going to clear this out for now, just so we have some space. So let greeting is equal to hello world, and start, we're gonna set it as greeting.prefix 2. If we print the start, we get HE. That's the first 2 characters. And now we're going to say let end is equal to greeting.suffix 2. Also going to print end. And then we get LD, which is the last 2 characters of the string. Great. Now we're going to finish this off with creating an array of the string. So we're going to say let str array is equal to array of greeting. So if we print this out, we get an array of these of the string broken up into characters. So then you can use the stuff that I showed you in the arrays module and manipulate it in that way. Swift, we call them dictionaries, and in other languages might be called hash maps, but this is how you create a dictionary. So first off, let's create a variable called months. And we need to set I like to set the type of the dictionary. So it's going to be, the key will be a string, and the value will be an integer. All right, so what we do is we use brackets, and we supply it with our key. So it's going to be December, and it'll be the 12th month. Then we'll do November, our 11th month, whoops, 11th month. Then we have March, the 3rd month. So here I want to print out our months dictionary, and it gives it to us like this. And if I want to print something specific, like months, the March key, or sorry, the March value, like that, we can just do it like so. I want to create another dictionary. I'll first comment out these two. And this will be a person. And in this case, I want to mix up the key types, or sorry, the value types. So I'll set the second type as any. And again, we'll create it using brackets. So this is going to be first name. It'll be Derek. Then we'll have last name, Shay. We'll have age, and this will be an integer. So now I want to print out person, and it gives us this. Let's see. Now we're going to create another key value pair. So I'm going to call occupation is equal to student. When we print it, we'll have occupation over here added. Next, I want to be able to create an array of all of our attributes or our keys. And I'll just do it like this. Array person.keys. When I print out the attributes, I get an array of all of my keys. Now let's do the same thing for the values. Array person.values, print values. And now we have two arrays, one with all of our values and one with all of our keys. Now finally, we want to be able to, or first we want to be able to remove the value of something. So I'm going to remove the value of the age. So now if I print person again, we should be missing the age in this one. Yep, we don't have the age here, and we do have the age up here. Now finally, I want to be able to iterate through all the key value pairs. So using a for loop, we'll have key and value over here. In person, open up curly brackets, and we're going to print using string interpolation our key along with our value. We run it, this is what we get. Occupation, student, last name Shay, first name Derek. Functions are a way for us to create chunks of code that perform a specific task. These functions are self-contained and won't impact other parts of your code. So first we create a function by using the func keyword and then creating a function name. So in our case, print hello world. We'll open up the brackets and we'll put print hello world. If I run print hello world here, I should get whatever I printed over here on our console. So whatever ran inside of this code block should run in our code. So really what this is calling is whatever is inside. So these two should be the same. Let's create another function. This time it'll have inputs and an output. So first we're going to be adding two numbers. So we're going to have num1, it's going to be of a type integer, num2, also of type integer, and it's going to have to return something, the sum of the two. So we use this arrow syntax to show that we're returning an integer as well. So here we just return num1 plus num2. So if we run add two numbers, we get 1, 2. This should give us 3, right? But when we run it, nothing happens, just our hello world shows up. That's because the only thing that's returning is in this function is num1 and num2, and we're not actually printing it out into the console. So that's why we have to do print like this. Or actually another way to visualize this is setting a variable or a constant in this case, sum is equal to this function. And now if we print sum, we get this. So really what we're doing is just getting 1 plus 2 and then sticking it inside of here. So 1 plus 2 also gives us a 3. So let's just go back to sum with our 3. This crash course, we'll be going over classes in object-oriented programming, which is a concept in programming where we have objects which contain data and code, which can be attached and accessed through different classes in inheritance. So first off, we're going to create a Mac class, and then I'm going to have a variable inside of type string called Mac. So first let's create an object. So we just do Mac like this and then instantiate it with parentheses. Now we can print the components of this computer, name, and it gives us Mac, what we put up here. So this is cool, but I want to change the name of the Mac. So we can just say computer.name is equal to, let's say, iMac. And if we print computer.name again, we get iMac. So now I want to create another class, but in this case, it's a MacBook. And I want my MacBook to also have the name Mac, but I don't want to keep on rewriting a bunch of stuff. So we can introduce something called inheritance, which we can create using a colon here and then doing Mac. So what this does is MacBook is basically like a child of Mac, which includes all of the attributes that Mac already has. And then we can add other things that we want. So for example, we can do a CPU here. And we can see that I'm not supplying what the CPU value is because I'm going to have an init, which takes in a CPU of type string, a variable. And then we're going to set self, whoops, I don't want that, CPU type string, and curly braces like this. So when we init this class, I'm going to set the self.cpu, which is this variable, into whatever this variable is. So it's equal to CPU. I'll trace this for you right now. So if we set a new constant MacBook is equal to MacBook, we're going to have to supply it with this CPU. And then I can just call it, let's do M1 Max. Okay. So this is what happens. We're passing in this M1 Max into this class, and then it's going to this init function. And then this M1 Max goes right here and is going to be the CPU. So then we have this self.cpu, which is this variable, set to whatever we put as this variable. So if we print out macbook.cpu, we get M1 Max. We can also print out macbook.name, and then it gives us Mac. So up here, if we change it to Mac computer, it changes it for both of them, here and here, since MacBook is inherited from Mac.